Hello, Bruce here again, taking a little break from some spring traveling and yard work to get to work on this little HOn30 critter that I did talk about in an earlier video, and said this is when I'd probably start first. So here I am, at least getting a start on it today. Well, actually, I started yesterday. The shell is a dandy little center cab made by, make sure you can see that, JT's Trains and Stuff, and he has his eBay store, JT Trains and Stuff, okay? And this little critter fits very nicely over this Kato powered chassis, number 11-109. And it runs like a charm, which I showed in that earlier video. And what I didn't show clearly was how this chassis fits right into the bottom of this 3D printed shell. So fits very nicely, a little pressure fit, and it's in there. So although the shell is very nice as it was, I wanted to do a little bit of detailing on it. The first thing I did was I decided to paint these two panels up on the top of the engine compartments, flat black, which I did yesterday using Microlux paint in grimy black, which is the brand of paint that I've been using that replaces Polyscale. And it comes from Micromark, and it brushes very nicely. I've been impressed with the paint so far. So I taped off the sides of the engine compartment with regular, blue painter's tape, and did that on all the sides. And then there was a raised ridge next to those panels, so instead of taping that off, I just took a razor blade and held it right against the ridge with one finger, and then came in with my paintbrush and painted right there, and it didn't leak at all. And it was a nice way to do it. So that's all I've done so far on it. The roof is still removable. Matter of fact, I'll leave it off for now. So I wanted to add a number of things. I toyed with the idea of putting working lights in it, and I decided I could do that later if I wished to. But because since this is going to remain removable off of that power chassis. But what I decided to do right now, at least, was to use some of the Details West clear lenses and put that in those holes. This is their part number LN456. And those lenses are a diameter, they claim, of 0.083 inches. The two positions for lights, front and rear here, had a diameter less than that, so I took a drill bit that was a little bit undersized. I think this is about 0.076 inches in diameter, this drill bit, and I just cleaned out the insides of both of those sockets with this drill bit, and then cleaned it up a little bit with a round file. And the way it works right now, on these lenses, the rear is tapered, and since this hole is a little bit undersized, that taper goes in and will wedge nicely. I test fit it and it looks good, so I'll glue those in place, front and rear, and then I can always add lights later if I wish to. One of the other things I wanted to add was a bell. And Details West again has a bell that is designed to attached to the side of a hood on these little center cab critters. GE critters in particular always mounted their bells there. So you just drill a hole and you insert that into the hole, and it will hang off of the side. Up front here, I'll do so and paint the bell. I haven't decided whether to paint them silver, gold color, or black or gray, but I'll be working on that. I wanted to mount a horn on the roof, and I have two options. I have these, which are rather large. They're nice because they would certainly show up, but it does kind of overpower this little critter, so I'm somewhat hesitant to use it. This one from Utah Pacific is a lot finer casting and is not going to overpower. However, it's a little bit overkill for a little unit like this because it's a 5-chime horn, and most of these little guys didn't have 5-chime horns. So again, I am still up in the air as to what I'm going to do, but I do want to get a horn on this. We'll see if there's another option. So a bell, a horn, the lenses front and rear. I want to add grab irons on each side of each door, and I'll fashion those out of either brass wire. I have Details West brass wire in two likely diameters, one 0.012 and the other 0.015. And the nice thing about the Details West is they convert that to outside pipe diameter. So 0.012 as a pipe, an HO scale would have an outside diameter of 1 inch, and the 0.015 is about 1.3 inches. Either would be fine to use as a grab iron and be somewhat prototypical. So I'll either use that brass, or I also have from Tichy some 0.015 phosphor bronze wire, which I could use. That stands up a little bit better to handling. But one of those, and I'll make those grabs. And finally, I want to do something with stair up steps, one on this side under the door and one on the other side. I again have stair up steps from Details West. These are side mounted. That would be a little challenging here because this lip is so thin. I also have metal stirrup steps from A-Line, in which you drill a hole from underneath, and that is an option, but again, that's a very thin lip there. So I think what I'm going to have to do is either take those A-Line stirrup steps or make some of my own and create something that looks like this. All right, so it would mount. Let me see if you can see that. I've made a lot of stirrup steps that are this shape. Yeah, you can see that. And then what you do is you just put a dab of glue on each of these and adhere it from underneath that lip, and that would be fine. So I'll either, like I say, modify those A-lines to do that, or make some by taking a piece of brass wire, tapping it flat, and I still have the jig to make those. So one way or the other, you'll see that later. So that's the plan for this guy, and I thought I would start right now with just gluing one of the lenses at least into place. And the adhesive I'm going to use is Testor's Clear Part Cement. And I'm going to just take a little dab of that, put it onto a piece of my famous shiny paper. I have another one here that's open and fresher. Let me just shake it up a little bit. Try to just get a dab out. Just wants to bubble. That's what you get when you shake it up. There, that's good. Okay, and a toothpick. And I will just take a little bit of that up on the toothpick and put it around the inside of one of these light sockets. Okay. And the way I usually insert lenses is I put them with the rounded lens side down on the sticky part of the blue tape, and then, let's get this out of the way, just take that, insert it into the socket, hold it for a little while, it's fitting very good. But I'm going to hold it until it unlike super glue, this takes a little while to set, so I'm going to let it there until that is set. And then I'll do the other one. And by the time I do my next segment, those lenses will be in place and I'll go on with the install. So see you soon. Hi, in this segment I just want to show how I make these stirrup steps out of brass wire. Here you can see it's basically formed already, and I just need to cut it off about here, and then we can glue it to the underside of that critter's frame. So let's see how we go ahead and make that. I'm starting with some Details West brass wire number 2506, which is 0.019 inches in diameter, which will give me a fairly fine, when I flatten it, stirrup step, which I think will look good on this model. So I simply take a piece of that wire, put it over the anvil part of my, in this case I'm using the back of my vise, and taking a small hammer I start just peening it flat, and you eyeball it until you get two things, about the right width and even along the whole length, and it doesn't take long. It's funny, I originally saw this approach to making stirrup steps from a great old modeler, a real master in New Jersey, named Ira Deutsch. And I met Ira when he was already up in his 80s, and he showed me a bunch of scratch-built cars that he had made, rolling stock, and I said, you know, where do you get those stirrup steps? He said, well, I make them out of brass wire. And I said, well, you know, is there a technique? How do you get it so even and uniform? And his answer sticks with me till today. He says, practice. So there was no secret. It was practice, practice, practice. All right, so I have it about the way I want it. Now this is a simple little jig, which is on a styrene base and two pieces of styrene, with giving me the depth and the width of the stirrup step. Let me get my vise out of the way a minute and just put this down on the wood, and take this new piece of flattened wire and put it across. Make sure that you can see this. Let's get down here. There you go. So you lay this piece of flattened brass wire across that gap, and I take another piece of styrene, which is just about the right width to go down there, and I press it down. Now get this flattened a little bit. Okay, get both ends flattened a little bit. Remove this, and now I shape the bottom better by first coming in here with a pair of needle nose pliers and pushing it down into the jig. And then finally coming back with a screwdriver about the same width. And what I'm trying to do is get that base somewhat squared instead of rounded. You can reinsert it so it is not a problem, but basically there is your stirrup step. So you just you can tidy up and try to make that a little squarer again by just putting this on either a piece of wood or metal and pushing down with your screwdriver blade. And then you'll cut the tails off a little bit on each side. You don't need anywhere near that length, and that's what you're going to add your glue to. And then glue it on the underside of the, in my case, the critter's frame. And that's all there is to making those out of brass wire. Well, I wanted to make some grab irons for the little critter. And it's not often that I buy a fancy doodad on my own, but every once in a while I do ask for one for either Christmas or birthday. And this grab iron maker was just such a doodad. Now, I got mine from, like I say, a birthday gift, but I don't know whether they're still available. It's just called the Grab Handler from Mission Models. And it has a bunch of steps in it, as I think you can see. And you just put your brass wire or your other wire in, slide it up to the width of the grab iron that you want to make, clamp it down, and then bend it down. And you can see I have a grab iron in there that I made that is protruding. I think you can see it protruding down below the level here. Once you get your wire in, you can clamp it tight to do your bending, and then take it apart and remove your grab iron, and let me just dump it onto the ground here. You can see it makes a very nice grab. Let's see if I make sure you can see that. Yeah, there she is. It makes a very nice grab iron. And the thing is, if you're going to make a bunch of them for a model, this makes them all a consistent width and so forth. You can trim the lengths the way you want. So it's certainly not necessary. You can make grab irons by folding it around a piece of styrene or piece of metal or many other ways. But like I say, this one here, Micromark used to carry them. I don't know if they still do, but comes in handy once in a while. Okay. Update soon on the final result of the modifications to the little critter. Well, I finished doing what I wanted to do with this little critter. It didn't take much. Kudos to JT's trains and stuff for making a very nice shell, and to Kato for making a very smooth running chassis. I spent a little bit of time adding a few things. I want to show you. Let's see, make sure that that's in the picture. You can see I made some wire grab irons. I've added a number with dry transfers, and you've seen me do dry transfers before in some of my videos. I think I already mentioned I had painted those two panels black up on the top of the engine compartments. I've added a bell, and I've added the horn on the roof. We added a couple of stair up steps, one on each side, and I showed you how I made those. And we've added lenses in where the lights would be. So all in all, just a few little things that we added to this because it didn't take much to really make it look good. I like the color gray that it was already printed, so I didn't change that. And overall now it's a great little critter, and it will be very happy to join my roster. And I think I mentioned this once before. I think what I would like to do is have a little setup where this is on an auto reverse circuit, goes into a mine, comes back out, and reverses, maybe goes over to a tipple and comes back. But it is just a fine little runner here, and sure it's going to give me years of fun. So overall, almost felt like cheating creating a critter so easily. So hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, just give it a like, and if you like my series of videos, then subscribe. We're entering the summer months, even though this is the day after Easter, the 18th of April, and we're expected to get 3 to 5 inches of snow here in southeast Michigan. It's already an inch on the ground, so we'll see what develops. But sooner or later, warm weather will come. Be spending more time outdoors and in the yard, and I'll just be doing smaller projects at the modeling bench, and hope to share those with you. So stay tuned. Talk to you again.